Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this program, the 33rd edition of Newsroom on B News 1, the tam-tam of the continent. We're coming to you live from our studio in Oja. We've had serious traffic jam problems, but finally we have made it to the studio. I want to apologize for that. For this late start, because crossing town just to get to Oja has been a problem. Some people left since 4 o'clock and they're just crossing into Oja at this minute and time. So we are going to have 5 topics today, no, 4 actually, 4 topics. The first one will be Back to School 2021. What are the major challenges faced by parents, teachers, and students as they prepare for schools reopening on Monday, the 6th of September? Also, still in education, is the Parent-Teacher Association, PTA's dues managed and used effectively and efficiently in most public and private institutions? What balance sheet can we draw from the inception of this PTA Association some 15 or 20 years ago? And then we will also have to look at our society where witchcraft, sorcery, black magic, constant accusation and allegation against the aged people. Are they responsible or victims of circumstances? The case of an aged man accused who was a wizard. He was accused of being a wizard and was seriously thrashed by a man of God. A priest thrashed him very well. The priest also found himself sent away from his parish. Then we have the real estate. Why is it difficult and very cost demanding to secure a house in the major towns and our cities today? And finally, we'll take on football. The indomitable Lions kicked off with their World Cup qualifiers against the guys from Malawi, and of course the indomitable Lions came out being a force to be reckoned with. We will revisit that match and bring most of those aspects of the game, the setup of the management, Fcfa itself, and the rest. Here to discuss these major topics with me is to my right, Mr. Kengafak Kelvin, management consultant and economics expert, who is coming back after they have control the general certificate of education process, the HND diplomas, the markings, and proclamation of results, and of course those who are defending now to end up with the HND. Welcome, Mr.
Thank you very much, Mr. Journalist Manuel Vigilante Jakai. It's once more a pleasure for us to partake in this very important educative and instructive program. I'll greet my fellow panelists, senior pedagogues that you invited around the very interesting and challenging topics today. I'll greet all the community of the higher institutions. As you earlier said, we are very tied up with our programs, but anyway we are still working for the nation and the states and for the upbringing of our young generation. Thank you once more for the invitation. And I also like to congratulate all those who made it at the General Certificate of Education this year, all those who passed their HNG, and also all those who are defending their BTech diplomas.
Okay, thank you. To his left is Mr. Chefo Ebenezer. He's a legal mind and educationist and also a civil society expert. You're welcome to.
Thank you, senior journalist Emmanuel Ganji. It's my pleasure once again to be your guest this afternoon. I salute my fellow panelists and the media landscape outside there. Dear tele viewers, once more, good afternoon.
Okay, and to my left, coming back after almost 3 months absence, Mr. Vosso Sorcery, the international stroke, the national and international author and economics lecturer. He's so popular amongst the, most of the youth in the secondary schools, and of course he set up what has become now very popular aspect in the Ministry of Secondary Education, that is e-learning, the use of distant learning for most of the students who benefited a lot from this during this period of exams. So welcome, Mr. Fosso, and you tell us more how it functions. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jakai.
Yes.
Really, it was not my making not being present in this particular program, but because of my charged program, it has really not been easy for me to make it. But we thank God today we can at least sit together again like a family to discuss some pertinent issues. I want to use this opportunity to greet the televiewers of this program, B News 1, and to continue to tell them that the program is their program and they should always make it part and parcel of them, because they will always get good information from this medium of transfer of information. So once more, I'll use this particular opportunity to greet my friends who are present with me here, and it will be a great time that we'll have together.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Fosso Sorcery, we'll go straight to back to school activities. What are the major challenges faced by parents, teachers, and students as they prepare or look forward to classes resuming after the long holiday and the COVID scare and the rest? They are renewing they're starting their education all over. Mr. Chefo, you want to take a shot at this?
Thank you, Emmanuel Jacque. This is really a hot potato and so timely to talk on such an issue, because we are at the verge of school resumption, and all roads are leading to the classroom. When we are talking of the challenges that are faced by parents, teachers, and the community as a whole, I would like to start by looking at it from the negative aspect of it, the challenges that have been created by the society. I want to pinpoint the government schools in particular and the difficulties for securing a position for a child. It has been legalized somehow that before you can access your way into a public school, you have to pay a certain sum, and it is so challenging at a time when a parent is looking forward to buy books, buy the necessary school equipment. He's equally bound to pay a lump sum of 100,000 francs and above to secure a seat for the child in the secondary school. And I believe, if I've not really read a lot about the government primary schools, but I believe that such malpractices are equally taking place within the Ministry of Basic Education. I want to call on the part that be that they are aware of this, because everywhere in taxis, at meeting places, over the radio, they are talking on how there is legalized corruption being practiced in the Ministry of Secondary Education in these big schools around town. Once a principal has been appointed to take a position, the first thing he thinks is to, what will I make out of my office? Instead of thinking on how he will serve the Cameroonian public, he thinks first of his belly. He thinks first of all how he can construct a retirement house. He thinks of how he can buy a new car for himself and the family, forgetting to know that he is at the service of the public. I am stressing on this. The schools around there, the parents have been paying money under the decks. They have been. I came to realize that before appointments have been made in Cameroon, people have to pay for, and that is why they need to recover the money they paid for their offices. While I was in the taxi heading to this place, all the discussions were about securing a seat in a government secondary school here in Yaoundé. And then somebody told me, for you to be appointed a principal, you must spend at least 10 million. And when you enter the office, you have to recover that money. Where are we heading to? How will the child of the less privileged, where will he go to? We are talking about IDPs who are running from the war zone. They barely have nothing to eat, talk less of raising 100,000 francs to secure a seat. The government schools are meant for the underprivileged. And if these unscrupulous principals get in with this money-minded attitude, where are we heading to? If we start buying a place for a child right there at the basic level, can we be talking about a corruption at ENAM? Corruption at Eric, corruption at Economa. If we start practicing at the grassroots.
Not to cut you short, but have you believed from these people that how can we say without any fear or favor that this corruption is going on?
I will say without any fear of contradiction on media, Mr. Njakai, that I had a child who was very brilliant. And how can a child perform by having 18 average at the level of the common entrance? And he is the second in Yaoundé, in the center region, and he fails an interview into a government secondary school. Is it possible?
Yes, that happened to.
Then the authorities in place should be.
It happened to. It happened to my last son. My last son.
Interview.
Yes, they went for the interview, but he got knocked off at the interview.
There is interview after the results that are obtained.
But what are we saying here? Many parents have been pushed to the wall. The government school is meant for the underprivileged. Education is meant to be free, but the Cameroonian society has made it in such a way that the procedure is so cumbersome. Right at the basic level, people have to suffer. And let me not buttress much on that. The teachers as well, they are facing difficulties to acquire study materials, update their work schemes, try to talk on their preparation sheets.
Let's say now from the teachers on the field with them.
Yes.
Okay, I want to thank my co-panelist for his intervention concerning the challenges that are faced by, especially as mentioned, the case of parents. And his pinpoint is on the fact of maybe in mostly public schools there is corruption, like maybe to obtain a place in a public school there is corruption. But I want to disagree with you on certain aspects concerning that. I, for one, to start with, I went to Government Bilingual Practicing High School, Yaoundé. When I left from the Northwest, from ordinary level, I never gave a franc. I was enrolled into that school without giving any franc. It is a public school and it's a big school here in Yaoundé. Many others I've seen they go, if your files are clear, you pass through all of your procedure, the requirements for admission, you get your admission without any problem. What you observe at times is that at times there are even the parents that push the authorities to the wall. Yes, at times there are the parents that push the authorities to the wall, because before the schools even resume, the parents are already mounting pressure on securing places in some of these schools, and they mount a lot of pressure. And let me tell you something, it is not only that these public schools that are available, there are private schools too that do so well.
Of course.
Yes, there are private schools that do so well that you can enroll your children into those schools and you feel comfortable. But some people only want to look at the point of number one, they look at the fees that they pay, and at times not knowing that at the end of the day they may be covering a cost that is more than even enrolling a child in a good private school that is around their residence. Take for example, somebody who is staying in a particular locality, paying transport only for the child to go to a public school because the fees there is reduced, forgetting to know the fact that you have to cover transportation costs before that child gets to that particular school. So those are some of the things that are supposed to be taken into consideration. So it's not good to say with a lot of clarity that this is what occurs. I'm not saying that it does not occur. Maybe it is occurring, but people get their clean admission into these public schools. And we are talking about the challenges that are faced by the parents, the teachers, and even at the level of the students. Like if you see today, if you go out there today, it is really a very busy day. A very busy day in so many aspects. The teachers out there are busy, the children themselves are busy, and the parents also are very, very busy. That is why you see all of the traffic that you can find today out there. All of this is because we do not plan ahead of time. It is because we do not do proper planning. You are not supposed to wait. School is resuming on Monday. Today is Saturday. It is when things are supposed to be done. That is where the problem starts arising. If there is proper planification, because the main problems or one of the main challenges being faced by parents now, obtaining money to see how they can maybe pay the fees. And some parents, for example, up to this point in time, like we were saying, they have not yet had schools where their children will be enrolled to, simply because maybe they are passing through people, mounting pressure through people to see how their children will be enrolled somewhere. That is why you see them very busy at this point in time. And at some point, when they see that it's not possible, that is when they start looking for a plan B. So right now, they are very busy out there, struggling, number one, obtaining money to pay fees, getting schools where they will enroll their children to. Those are some constraints that are facing at this particular point in time. So those are some of the things that are facing. And teachers also too, at their own point too, they are having their own challenges. There are some teachers in schools that have not had their timetables right up to this point in time, which is not normal. Schools cannot be resuming on Monday and up to this point in time. Some teachers, some schools have not had their timetables. It is not really called for. So that is a challenge that is being faced. And on their own part, you see some of the teachers right now, it is now that are struggling to maybe make notes for the academic year that is coming, and maybe their progression sheets and all whatnot, all of the necessary requirements that will be needed by the school authorities. So those are some of the challenges that are being faced by them at this particular point in time. And for the students too, they themselves, they have their challenges at their own level. They have their challenges. It is true that their parents struggle at all levels to see how they can make them comfortable. But when they go to schools, anyway, for a conscious student to be in school, the student must have challenges before going back to school. It's not simply because you are constrained that it is back to school. Your parents say go to school and then you start going to school. A normal student is supposed to be prepared before going to school. You have to first of all start by recalling your past material for the past class before going to the next class. Those are some challenges that some of them are facing right now, especially those who are getting into examination classes. Recalling their past materials that they have before they see the classes that are going to. So those are some of the challenges that are facing at this particular point in time. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kingafak, you're in charge of management, you're a managing consultant, managing time, preparations for school at all levels. What's your take on this?
I will not come back to what my fellow panelists have brilliantly elaborated on, especially on the financial aspects and also the political aspect from what Mr. Chefo just said. As managers, reality managers always say, failing to plan is planning to fail. On the part of parents, teachers and students, our one to back to school is not only at the level of the secondary. We also have the level of the higher education, because they will come back on the 13th of September, while primary and secondary is on the 6th of September. The major challenge is that of the budget of education or the affordability of education, which the other panelists have already really gone, because we'll come back to the second topic, which is linked with PTA and other issues we try to inflate concerning that. The next and most very important aspect, that of the quality of education, Mr. Jakai, because the standards and quality of education, we have moved from the objective base to competence base, because the orientation, especially in the SNG 30s, what can you do with a diploma? What competence are you acquiring? And when we mean competence, we means putting the skills and knowledge to acquire, be it in formal education in a classroom situation or in an informal education system, which is generally acquired out of the classroom. How can you do? What can you do with that particular training, education, or training or skills acquired? What can you actually do? What can you Can you put those skills and knowledge into usable applications? That is the new orientation, and that is the orientation which our parents failed, because people were just going to school for going sick. What are you doing after? So that orientation aspect is very important, and orientation is linked to the what we call the quality or the standard of education. Sure. You see that now most parents, when they have A level, or some of us that teach in professional schools, you see people doing commercial and industrial education coming from A1, those who the history, literature, French. It means that at the base there was a problem of orientation. So orientation is a major challenge, because some parents just send people to school without knowing what actually they're out for. Are you sending a child for a professional course or for a general course? At the end, what can that child do? So orientation is a major challenge to parents, because we are here today to advise and give parents certain lines what they can do. It's not late. And in all private and secondary schools, they have what we call guiding counselors. Sometimes when you go to school, who is the counselor of this school? All public institutions have counselors trained and professional trains that live ANS and other institutions. We don't visit them, and they don't also come to us, because that problem of orientation is a very big challenge. We not only dwell on the financial aspect, but orientation is a big challenge, both to parents and some teachers that are parents. In the part of the teachers' classroom, the teacher's office is the classroom. The teaching conditions in Cameroon, in some private and even public institutions, is horrible, because you even enter on the sixth, there is no didactic material. There's no chalk, there's no ruler. The classroom is in a very nasty situation, because the owners of the public institution will tell there is no running budget for now to start. So they're waiting for the minimum packet either from local councillors. That is why I pray that the decentralization and the regionalization that was put in place, they should really play their role, because there is a percentage which they have to use to manage those schools and public institutions by giving a word called paquet minimum. Some even come sometime in the second term, Mr. Jakari. Is it paquet minimum? Why normally 6 September it has to be there to enable them to start running? So teachers face those difficulties, not only preparing note lesson plan, but also when they go in there, they don't have even chalk. I mean simple chalk to go to the class. Sometimes they have to buy the chalk from their own pocket, which is a very big sacrifice. In the part of students nowadays, there is peer pressure. Because when we have A level, which is the adjoining stage, because that's the adjoining stage, either O level or A level, we have to go to the most prestigious universities, we want to follow friends. Why? The parents don't have the means. So there's peer pressure. So they want to really go where their friends are, and it's a very big challenge. Sometimes you sit with your child and you discuss with him or her, he tells you he wants to become this, he wants to become that, but the parent don't actually have the means. So it's a big challenge to both the candidate, because you might force him to go into an option which he doesn't really like. So we should try to advise the educational community, and all comes in the level of negotiation. That's, you should try to talk to their child, give the future perspective, and the orientation which we are giving out to the parents, especially the Anglophone community, is that of industrial and commercial education, because we see the majority of those who have diplomas that are doing bikes, that are in the taxi and other informal sectors, are those who have degrees in mostly general education, which today it cannot help them. They cannot use that particular competence in usable application. So the orientation is professional education, commercial and industrial education, Mr. Jakai.
Okay, thank you very much for that in-depth analysis of the problems of teachers and the students. Mr. Chefo, you see, with the legal minds, there are some of these things we forgot, which we are not following. One, the minimum package.
Yes, of course.
It's not a mere slogan. It is real. I was in the Ministry of Basic Education the other day. I showed my daughter who just passed. I said, see, did you ever see this in the classroom one day for your 7 years of college? She said no. So she does cartoons. Those are minimum packages which the World Bank has given to Cameroon. 54 billion worth. Every school must receive that package before Monday.
Before Monday.
There were a few other cartoons there about, I can say 500 cartoons. Stay in the hall, the entrance of the ministry.
My school.
Someone said that, how are some of them going to to get to their destinations. When I just look at the back roads in northwest and southwest at this rainy season, far enough, when will these things get there? You know, these are some of the things that say we have forgotten. The minimum package, then the role of the councillor.
That's it.
The councillors, because I see this counseling going on so much with the private colleges. Private colleges, they actually tell the parents and the students, this is good for you. Don't force yourself into this program and this and that. That's what I have seen. And I have seen in the private sector, but I have not seen that in the lycees. Why is it like that, Mr. Fosso? What's happening with this counseling issue?
For the counseling part, I've not really had the impact on that, but for the schools I've been to, or the schools I've been like a teacher there, the government schools, in terms of the minimum packages, whenever I take service, I've always had the minimum package all the time.
Yes,
from the very beginning.
Okay.
So I'm surprised. Sincerely, I've always been having. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it goes to some people late, but I've always been receiving the packages on time.
So when you come to school, there should be
they share the books, pens.
A staff meeting.
Yes.
Before schools
they share
start.
the books, the pens, and the chalk cartoon, the boxes.
Because
always at the beginning of the
I saw when I went to do the enrollment for my last two boys, they were doing admissions into most of the classes, and special teachers were there to collect the report cards and enroll them, give them a number which will be used to discuss to insert the children in those classes. And I noticed that those who are like class tutors, masters, we had some supplies around them already.
There is true, Mr.
Supplies
Njokai, that
The supplies of books, ledgers, and chalk.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
You
It's
move around,
true.
you see, right from the beginning, you
it
see.
is true some of these schools do receive the packages, but I don't think all the schools benefit from it, because with my experience teaching, I have been opportune to have this teaching dialectics in some schools, but in others, I don't know whether they ended at the level of the administration or they did not actually come at all. If we are to judge from the largesse of from the presidency of the republic, that of the recently laptops that were given to us, I will tell you that not all university students did receive it, and not all institutions receive it. I think I have not reached the level of understanding the politics, whether it is because some schools were not yet marked or some schools were not having what it takes. But to be candid, not all schools benefited from the laptop as well as the minimum package. I think so.
Nice. Well, we know that for the case of the laptop, it's a different case, because most children, as soon as they collected it and found out that the memory was too low, they went and sold them.
It became a business.
25,000.
30,000.
25 is a very new one and a responsible guy. If you see those careless ones, even with 15,000 francs, they will sell it out.
Yes, they sold, because most of them did not say how they will use it. And then what we were expecting to link all the state universities who are the privilege to be given those computers, they have not had the national data bank, which was supposed to be built somewhere in the south, in this so-called university, this regional university that is being put up in Saint-Méliman. You know, that's where they were supposed to do like let me say that would be like the memory bank for the school. And so if the University of Bamenda, for example, the teachers have to go online, they have to be linked up. All the teachers, their classes will be sent to that bank. And all the students have to do is to key in, log in, like we are asking for a link to do our program now. You just have a link and you're given that information. And maybe Mr. Foto can give us some highlights on what you did with the e-learning classes.
How is it?
Yes, for the e-learning, like you have just rightly said, we use links, especially when we came to the period of because we had some phases, the normal phases for normal classroom, for normal classes that we had. That case, we just do recordings, and then you can go online, and you at any time that you need it, you can visit the lessons that have been displayed. And when it came to revision, it was purely how do I call it? It was purely interactive. That is between the teachers and the students. So they shared a link well ahead of time to the different media that they could use. They shared the link so that students could now connect through Zoom. We were using Zoom. The students can connect, and at that particular point in time when it's time for
I had to give up
it's very interactive.
My phone.
Ask their questions.
I saw my daughter conversing there. I said, how are you doing literature? I've not seen any book here. I said, no.
They converse, ask their questions. It was very interesting.
Yes, she's
during the revision phase.
She had a B grade in A levels. And that's good. I didn't see her with the textbook. So it had started long ago, but then when I found out that she insisted, so I just gave her the phone in March. I gave her my Android phone. And that's what she used all along.
I want to add that, senior journalist, you were lucky that your child, in terms of usage, you really used that apps, that handset for a defined purpose, and it was also thanks to your own guidance and follow up. Because I know some parents that gave also Android phones to the children, but it was not, the objective was not achieved, because that comes back to what we call follow up and guidance. It doesn't always suffice to give a handset, but you should also control the child when to use that particular word, handset, especially when the child have not reached maybe at the civil majority, which is 21, or the voting majority, which is 20. So when you give, you have to control that child on the usage, because exposing the child in social media and other sites, it is very, very detrimental. So you should control. Generally, classes ends at 3:30. You can say from 6 to 8, the child should use and download. And the system will always use that there is a laptop when it comes to download, and will send it there, and the child can read, because the child cannot read the handset to go through all the time. Depending on, you download the lesson and you send it to maybe another machine for the child to really go through.
Or they can print.
Or they can print in those areas that are verified, because he's saying it was a success, but what percentage of students really have access and that can afford megabytes to download or to do a Zoom class? It is very cost demanding, and as he said, in those peripheral areas where there is no electricity, we can print or photocopy them and distribute them to those children that have the access maybe to electricity or to the internet. And that boils down to the major challenge, which is that of follow up and monitoring our children every day, morning, afternoon, and evening. The last academic year, there was a phenomenon of sorcery, which we call porte monnaie intelligent. All those things that happen in schools. Parents were embarrassed, surprised that their child is in a sect or is in a very occult groups and so on, because of lack of control, monitoring what the child is doing. Teachers are exposed to students that come in with weapons and other things, because at the beginning, the DM will be there to control the first week, but they cannot do it for 4,000 children every day. You have to put how many DMs to be controlling backs all the time. That one boils back to what we call informal education. It is a collective aspect, Mr. Jakai. Parents and teachers should work in synergy. There's not throw everything to teachers, because teachers in a classroom is not very easy to manage a classroom, to impact just the knowledge and even the competence. So the parents at home should try to help parents, the teachers, and also other instructors to monitor and control their children. Know who are their friends, what actually do they do. When they come back, they try to control the books. Why is the book empty? Why is the date not here? That is monitoring, and that you will have a very successful academic year come 2021-2022.
Okay, thank you. You want to say something?
Yes, I want to react on what he has just said concerning the distance program, concerning the percentage of success of that program. You will see that this distance learning program is a program that came simply because of the challenges that we have been facing from the COVID-19. It is something that is new into the country, and when you are getting somewhere, at least you start from somewhere. If you have a particular objective to attain, you must start from somewhere, and you see how gradually you can get your objective being attained. So it is progressing, and a lot of sensitization is being done, and a lot of awareness is being created. Some children do not know about it. Like now, classes have resumed, or classes will be resuming. You will observe that those who are concerned about that, like this particular medium that we are talking about, this, others are getting aware just through this particular medium that we are using. So you will observe that even some of these children that were involved into the program, or that participated in one way or the other, they will also go and meet their friends and sensitize them concerning that. That is how the awareness is being created, and you will observe that at the end of the day, a majority of the students, when it will be launched again, they will be part of it. And as you have rightly said, it really needs a lot of follow-up. Yes, it needs a lot of follow-up from the students. And as you mentioned too, in peripheries, like we make the lessons too, the lessons are not just presented, but there is a print form of the lessons too that are being produced, such that if you cannot have the lesson directly online, at least you can get the hard copy. You can print you can print the slides. Okay. Yes, it's made also in the print form in a way that you get and then the explanations to all of what is being said in the PowerPoint. So that is being taken care of. At least they're trying to get somewhere, and eventually they will succeed.
Okay, we'll be right back. We'll take this tertiary jingle and then come back to more on Back to School. Welcome back to Newsroom. We're coming to you live from the studios of B News 1 at Oja in the nation's capital, all right opposite the third-class chiefdom. There's been a lot of traffic jam around the city, and so if you must travel, go slowly and do not get yourselves into uncomfortable positions while driving. Follow the line. Don't go out of that line and create a second line or a third line and then speeding to overtake. That only complicates the traffic jam. All traffic rules and regulations must be respected so that we will not have backups, unnecessary backups, which will even be a threat to patients who have to be taken to the hospital or home. So please watch out for that. We need some discipline on our roads. Well, the second topic is the Parent-Teacher Association dues managed and used effectively and efficiently in most public and private institutions. Mr. Fosso.
Yeah, the the PTA dues that they effectively used in the public and private institutions. That is a very, very difficult question to answer, because it will now depend on the particular institution that is being put in place. Yes. You will observe that you go to some schools that effectively they do proper management of their PTA dues, and to other institutions that this money is being mismanaged in one way or the other. I, for example, formerly I was in a very big school. Yeah, they were doing well in terms of that. And presently, anyway, I could say it's a big school, and maybe the income that comes from there too is also huge. So they were doing well. But presently, I'm in a smaller school. I don't know if I can call it Nakono. GBHS Akono is a smaller school that it is even very difficult for the children to pay fees. Very difficult for the children to pay fees. But if you see the follow-up that right from the principal they do to ensure that they manage to realize some basic projects of the school, it is really, really amazing. Like newly, because we are just getting into the science, to the high school of the sciences, creating the laboratory for the science department, creating a laboratory for the home economics, and then struggling to put on some classrooms too. That in fact they are really trying in that aspect. To me, that's my own point of view, because I don't even see what those children can give. Really, it's really a difficult place to be, but at that level, they are trying. And that is it's an example I've given. It is in a public school, but elsewhere, you may not see the same thing. Elsewhere, you may not see the same thing, because you will look at some schools, very old schools, and you know that they have these resources. They have these resources or this finance that is being given to them, that they can do some things to ensure that they provide some basic facilities to those schools, like maybe renovating, maybe even just buying some paint to renovate a building, planting some flowers around the school yard, making some pavement to ensure that when it rains, mud does not disturb the students, the teachers, and those who are coming in and going out, to ensure that some of the facilities, like maybe the toilet facilities, because that's a very important issue in life. You know that if you get to someone, do you know that you have reached somewhere is when you look for the toilet. When you want to go to the toilet, it's not see a toilet. That is when you know that you were really somewhere. To ensure that they can put some of those facilities. Really, if you get to a place and you cannot see some of those small facilities with all of these things that all of these resources that are coming from the parents teachers association, and then it is really some level of, there is really some level of mismanagement. And situations where there is a lack of teachers too in certain departments. For example, because when we pay these PTA levies, like in public schools, we expect that if there is lack of teachers in a particular department, they should be capable of maybe going in for a private teacher, like a PTA teacher, and then they see something that is being done. But you will see that there are some public schools that they are not even capable of hiring one teacher, but this levy is being paid, but you don't see where it goes to, and you don't see no development that is going in some of these schools. So in some of these cases, it's really, really regrettable.
Okay, Mr. Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Njakai. It's really a question to ponder over it, whether the people in place are putting the resources into use. It varies from one school to another, as my co-panelists rightly said. And I want to believe that the schools in the hinterlands, they do manage the resources more than the schools in the center. I schooled in the village during my early days in the secondary school, and the PTA levy that we paid and the level of development that was being undertaken on campus was something to really appreciate. But when I later on entered in town and I look at like a school like a Lycée Ekunu, I just look at the entrance into the main gate. For the past 10 years, whenever I'm passing there, I said, the principals have been here. They cannot just buy gravel and throw here when it rains. it is hell for students or teachers to access the school campus. I never had a class in my days that we did not have a teacher in the government schools. The level follow-up, I was well taught, but my children come back from secondary schools in public schools at the center of Yaoundé, telling us that we don't have a teacher in this subject. I keep wondering, where is the PTA levy going to? If we look back at the private schools, the government have abandoned these unscrupulous proprietors to do whatsoever they want to do with parents' money. Most of the times I try to look at the fee being paid by parents in this private school and the knowledge, it doesn't match in most situations, in most circumstances. The learning conditions, it doesn't reflect the fee that is being paid by parents. You see children are sitting in classrooms made up of plywood. There is no ceiling. There is no gap between the teacher. In fact, the learning conditions are terrible. Just try to inquire the fee.
If we want to conclude, we say that hinterlands manage
the resources
better
I think
than those in the major towns.
I think so.
It is
yes, in the rural areas it is well managed because the demand is higher than in public schools, because when we talk here is in terms of public schools that are not still embarked on constructions and other aspects, but you see the fees really varied from one public school to another. So as to be very straight to the point, we should be solution oriented. I believe the government should come in and harmonize this PTA levy and issues, because if they harmonize it, saying that in public schools they should pay this, in high school they should pay this. If the fees is 7,500, they should try to harmonize that. In all public schools they should pay maybe 20,000. That is
what Mr. Kmer, if you look at the Ministry of Secondary Education, for each school, they have said PTA is 5,000 francs.
Yes.
But the public high schools are collecting 20,000
and so on.
21,000.
And worst of all, Mr. Jakai,
understated.
when you go for registration, you must pay first that PTA fee before paying the school fees.
Yes.
That's the precondition they give in most schools. So if you don't pay first the PTA and the computer decent fee, they will not even collect the normal official fee, 57.5 and 10,000 for the secondary. So that is, and that one comes back to what we call the budget of education, because some parents are sometimes embarrassed because it changes, it varies. It even have variance today, just like Corona. Because if you pay 20,000, you don't know if the next academic year you will still pay the same 20,000 for the PTA fees. So that's why I was calling for what we call harmonization.
No, well,
in some private schools,
the government cannot, because PTA is an association.
It's an association.
Yes. So the state cannot
allow an association to take their own initiative.
I think decentralization will play.
Yes, but then the point is, I have had not less than 2 students in the high school, and every year I have paid PTA for 2 students.
Exactly.
There was a time I had 3. That was 63,000 that I paid. I have been forced to pay
a PTA.
fee.
And to buy your idea, the law creating PTA shows that once ever those funds are paid, they become public funds. That's why there are some principals that have been locked due to embezzlement of PTA funds, because those funds become public funds once gathered. And I will really call the attention for PTA president, because Mr. Jakai, most of them are in complicity with the principals and other things, because they are the ones that have to really make sure that those funds are really used efficiently.
But what is in private schools?
Without what efficiency means minimizing cost, time, effort, and without what wastage. They should use it in the classroom. Parents delegate, Mr. Foso, parent delegates are not playing their role. Sometimes you will see that they will declare 4 PTA teachers or shortage of PTA teachers, but they will not even control if they've ever seen the teachers. So we are calling that if they are PTA teachers, they should present them to the parents, or the parent delegates of that class where that PTA teacher is going have to intervene, should make sure that that teacher is effectively there, because there are complicities. Because these funds are the funds of parents. It's not because your class, the PTA you are paying, as Mr. Jakai says, not because you help your child directly, or they use it, but it's for the global or inclusive need. Mr. Jakai,
I want to say something before we wrap up. I want to call on parents to follow up this PTA issue. Most parents don't know what is going on in the schools where they are.
Because when I invited for a meeting,
they don't go. A few of them, 5 out, they don't go and they don't care to know what is happening. So the principal ming around with the PTA chairman.
When they go, they're interested in the food that will give them at the end.
Because they don't want to be concerned in attending the meetings.
Then
now who is to be blamed?
Who is to be blamed? It's a collective responsibility. It's a collective responsibility. At the beginning of the year, they'll call meeting. They'll say, all the parents from 1A go and try to gather and see who will be a parent delegate to follow up. Nobody will come.
That is the issue.
Collective responsibility.
That is a collective responsibility.
Yeah, not only to pay, but follow up
what they have paid. Yes, to see that effectively.
I remember last year I went for a PTA meeting. As young as I am, people were forcing me to become a PTA chairman, having just a PTA delegate in that from 5 whatsoever. I'm just a child in that class, and I said, but the parents have been here. Why can't they go in?
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. We've said enough. Parents have heard, the students have heard, and let us go to the field now and apply it. If anybody wants to impose on me that if PTA fees are not paid, then I'll have to take the matter now to the minister. No, I'll take the matter to the minister. Take the matter to the minister. Let the minister also open our doors to receive all the parents. Yes, because if you cannot meet a high authority, if the Secretary General of the ministry should take care of that with the technical advisors and the inspector generals.
Exactly.
And the regional delegates must impose this at all levels with their inspectors of education.
And monitor.
Yes, a monitor. So that's what we will expect. All right, we'll be right back. We'll be going to Witchcraft now, hoping that so can we use it now to knock some of these people. We'll be right back after this. Okay, welcome back to Newsroom. It's coming to you live from B News 1, the tam-tam of the continent. We're going to look into witchcraft, sorcery, and of course black magic. Constant accusations and allegations against the aged people. Are they responsible or victims of circumstances? The case of an aged man who was accused of being a wizard and was seriously trashed. And it was on social media by a priest. So that recalls to me my great-grandfather, who was the first paramount chief of the Bakweris. If you were accused of witchcraft in Bakweri land,
poison.
They cut the bark of the sarswood tree.
Yes.
And mixed it, make that concoction, and you have to drink it in front of the villagers.
Kingsmen.
The kingsmen. No, it's public. The kingsmen are there to make sure that you drink that liquid. If you do not vomit it, that if it does not make you to throw up, you're responsible. You're witch or a wizard. And you are immediately hung. Yeah, they hang you. So, yes. So one Baptist pastor came to Boya and saw that situation and went back to Douala and reported to the German administration that there's a village tyrant who is killing people to say it's witchcraft. So they sent an army led by von Ribbentrop for a punitive mission on Boya. When they got to Boya, they passed through the present road that links to the parliamentarian flats. And they were saying, but where are those people here? Where is that King Kwali Kenya's soldiers that are making so much noise? The people were hiding under, they were inside that ravine, where there's a bridge before you see parliamentarian flats. It is a ravine because it's a seasonal river that passes there. They were there. He didn't die. So they shot the German commander, cut his head, and killed 3 other soldiers. So Germans ran away and went back to Douala to go and report. And they came and tried to make peace with the Kenyans. They didn't show his army and this and that. But then that is how they made the second war on Boya. And toppled my great-grandfather. So now in this case, what's going to happen? You saw the priest who used that man was suspended.
Yes, he was suspended by the bishop of Ibolova of Balmayo.
Yes.
And the act, it was not justified because he, as a priest, there are other means which you can use to fight sorcery or witchcraft in the population, but you took the oath, you gathered if an old man used cocoyam leaves and be trashing
because the cocoyam leaves are not strong.
Yes, but
they are not strong.
They say if there's a witch or witchcraft, you beat someone with cocoyam leaves, he will normally confess directly, because just 1, 2, 3 hitings, it is very painful in such a way that you cannot even resist. But when I see the video, he used almost maybe a bucket or a bunch of cocoyam leaves, and he was trashing, and the Catholic Church really saw it as not a good image. Even maybe
it's the same thing beating somebody with a pillow, not so?
Yes.
It's the same thing beating somebody with a pillow. So with the pillow.
So the act was not really, and the priest, the father, was sanctioned and suspended, and he tried to allege that these old men, particularly in that village, there is no progress since he came there, and he has built even a new church, and they are totally against him. They fight him, the youths. There's no progress in the village. So that act was to maybe set an example to others, but the methodology used as a priest and for his image was not a good one. You see, the youths, there were other youths seated around and they were watching. It means that it is very a question called for. But I want to intervene by saying witchcraft, sorcery, or black magic is not only practiced by the aged people. Young men nowadays in our schools, they do practice this, that they have transmit. It's a form of transmission from the old to the young generation. Black magic, sorcery, when you read books, you have positive and you have the negative aspect. We are focusing on the negative aspect of the usage of that. Others use it in a positive way. What is the telephone when you call somebody from one and so on? How did it come with Facebook and WhatsApp and so on? It's also a form of witchcraft also, but it is positive because it is used in a positive way. But in our culture, Mr. Jakai, most of those things are used in a negative to destroy youth's progress. Students cannot write concourse in a village and pass. They always try to fail. There is no progress. There is no child that village that have ever passed a concourse.
Have you not heard in Betty land that a group of old women and men travel abroad?
Yes, they use the
sardine container. It is the Boeing jet.
Until it crashes in the air.
Yes, it crashes, and then so you go there and you find people. The survivors are found naked or hanging on a tree. If the tree is cut, like the one I'm telling you, this one here at Invoke at Tanambala here, Machine Fongbi, there was a big tree there, that's a plum tree. So it was cut. And when the super went and they went and bought planes. They saw them in America. They came and signed and gave money for planes to come to Cameroon. But they flew them back. The people have paid Americans to say, what is going on? Why have these people not come back? With their addresses and everything.
I'm telling you.
They came here to find out. It's one of my former colleagues of late, who is the prince of that area, who said that they received them well, and then they discovered that all the people here in Mvongbe who died in a series was as a result of the felling of that tree, and when they came back in the night, they could not identify their airport,
their residence.
Yeah,
airport of
where to land.
So there was a crash.
There was a crash. No, he said that. He said that story is still kept to them. The forefathers were giving it to them that this is what happened. So There's some of these things that
I'm
are
telling
real.
you, so it went viral, and it is really a call for attention.
Mr. Njakai, I think witchcraft has been documented by our law, and it is a crime sanctioned by Section 251 of the.
But you know that when you go right now to Nangai Boko, you go to the prison of the central prison of Nangai
yes,
Boko.
if you
Most of the inmates are there for
if you can bring enough evidence to convince the court that you've been bewitched by Mr. X or Mr. Y by either evidence, testimonies, confession, then the person has to go in for.
Yes,
if you look at our law as you recounted on how it was being abolished by the German, now we are talking about Section 27 of the Southern Cameroon High Court law, which has made it clear that any custom which is not repugnant to our natural justice, equity, and good conscience, it should be practiced. So if any community deem it necessary that this is how we can sanction people, and if the people of that community do accept that we should continue in that practice, then I think it should be accepted. But what are we talking of? How come a priest go as far as beating somebody? That is mob justice, which is not accepted in our community. I think that
should not come from a priest.
It shouldn't come from the priest, a clergy, for that matter. What example is he setting for the flock?
Yeah, but ask your friends who studied in Bishop Rogan College, especially next to Sase.
Yes.
What their principal did to them.
I witnessed a situation in early 2000.
He will flog you.
Exactly.
Yes.
No, that the discipline in school.
The discipline in Bishop Rogan
is the discipline in school is different.
That one is the new orientation. Senator.
The man flogged the boys in Bishop Rogan. That one is in the 1970s.
That one is different.
1970, where mob beating was still, it had a place in the education system. But now, I mean, mob beating, teachers
discipline through trashing.
That is it. But now we are talking about the least touch of somebody in anger. That's assault, battery. I believe that the priest should be made to understand that he committed.
But then the community block the road now that if this priest is not back, the church will not function. And they block the support of what the priest
I think the forces of law and order, they need to get.
They had to. So I'm sure because that person
doing so of the authorities in place.
Yes, I asked. Call for the authorities of the church to reinstate
the first thing I should be asking, can they prove with undoubted evidence that the man was
if there was no proof,
there are different ways we can prove.
The old man would have reacted, and the community would have reacted. They would have been the first to react.
It means the witch and the sorcery is reality in that village.
They use the wrong method. Addressing
they did not.
There's a question on speed. The law is good as a legal mind, but the problem is the speed, the time take, because that question also came into context because the law is good. The law talks about proving and so on, but the time it takes to prove that particular aspect. How many people would have died? How many children would have sold?
Under no circumstance should anyone, not even the President of the Republic, take the laws into his hands because of delays in administration.
Do you know that civil servants, some of them were flogged by the former head of state?
True.
He thrashed them in the palace. And send them home crying, and their wives and children.
And that is why
that he could not sit well on the chair.
And that is why even on this panel I will say the regime in place in Cameroon is not a regime to reckon with. What are we talking of? In the 21st century they are talking about mob justice. People have
it's not mob justice.
But we should denounce it when things are going the wrong way because everybody is doing the wrong thing.
It took place in a Catholic setup.
Yes, in the year of Catholic. Yes, true. That is a situation.
That is
Yes.
somebody who belongs
In the
to that
Republic-
community
in the Republic
and
of
to
Cameroon.
that church. Yes.
In the Republic
Yes.
of
It
Cameroon.
was not
Instead of law.
It was not Jim Jones. It was not Jim Jones.
Exactly.
It was not Jim Jones town.
It happened in
It happened
the environment, the Catholic
vicinity.
Yes.
And in open air,
Public.
not in
Not in
closed
closed
room
meeting.
with the church.
I'm not in any way
So,
an
and the
advocate
guy-
for witchcraft.
the guy-
I don't even believe in witchcraft.
the guy-
I don't think that somebody
No,
can be
the guy
witchcraft.
was
What are we saying?
trashed
He
and,
ought to
and that wizardry left him.
Left him,
He confessed. That's why all those things came out. Do you know what they do to these guys who say coupe the route in the
north?
In the north, in the far north.
That's what they used to send them.
When they catch a guy with all those amulets on him, they shoot the gun, it does not enter.
Not enter. You shoot, it doesn't enter.
So they go and cut fresh branches of trees, what they call molongo. When they give that guy 2 strokes,
I witnessed it
Confess.
1 month ago when I went back to the village, and there is this guy, head of the Amber in my place. He
Yes.
had been causing a lot of havoc. It's happened that maybe they came back from an operation and they couldn't. He was trying to show up. The other guys within the same team, they held him, tied him up, and they whipped him to death.
yes, because according to the Amber law, you don't kill. No, let me tell you. According to Amber law,
Yes.
you don't kill a fellow Amber.
Yes.
If you do, then his spirit must go after you, and you'll die. So you remember this guy from Indiana who was close to the prime minister, who went to Kumba. They shot his driver and they killed him. They cut his arm and the leg, cooked and ate so that his spirit will not follow them. So you see these things. There are many of these things that if you want to go through it, you must follow. And when it comes from something fresh, be it this grass, this grass that we used to tie when we were playing football, we were tying this team, we beat them. We believed in that and played, and we win.
That's it.
Bahama grass, they call it Bahama grass.
Yes, it's normal. Yes.
If you boil,
Bahama's in the air.
no, yes,
If you believe, it works.
if you remove that Bahama grass, boil it with kanwa. I saw it. It worked on my leg a month ago. My rock just got swollen. You'd have heard that my leg is amputated. Just to make
But that is not witchcraft.
to warm it and that. Just try to tell you that there are certain things when it concerns natural things like that, it's effective.
It's effective.
Because what is a plantain? What is a plantain branch? I mean, a cocoyam branch.
Yes.
What is it to somebody? Eh? It's like meeting somebody with a pillow. Okay, all right, we'll leave it at that and say, well, not everybody is a wizard also.
Exactly.
So certain proofs have to be taken. But when it starts going from one mouth to the other in the village, and then involves other older people accusing a certain group, then action is taken like that. And for a spiritual man, a man of God like that, he didn't have to use a cane, an electrical cable, or a phone line.
Traditional
He has been
authorities
authorized to use a cocoyam leaf.
For yam leaves, they told him, and he used it.
The community authorized him to do that.
They prescribed him to do that. Okay, let's move on now to a little bit of real estate, then we'll end up with football. We just have about 5 minutes to go. So, why is it difficult and very cost demanding to secure a house to let in our major towns and cities? It's
It's obvious.
Yeah,
It's obvious. The mad rush, the influx of fellow
Urbanization.
our fellow Anglophones rushing to Yaoundé, Douala has caused the landlords to increase rent. And of course, it is very difficult for you to even have a house, a good one for that matter. The people, the inhabitants of this place have taken advantage of that. And since there is disorder in housing, there is no order as to how much can we pay for a house having this standard You know, our community is a very disordered one. People have taken advantage of that. The football games have come to contribute to that. The crisis in the far north, the crisis in the northwest and the southwest region, I think it's obvious. And the poor, the citizens are left at the mercy of themselves. They have to hustle. Even if you get to Post Central, you see people. I always go there for sport every Sunday morning. You see people, you think that they are mad people. They are human beings with all their senses. They are lying there. That is where they live. That is where they live.
Right.
In Post Central, this big street, they sleep there. There are people sleeping there. You can take you can go for a discovery at 5:30 or 6 o'clock.
I saw one in Mvongbi here after the show.
It's just I'm talking about people lying as if they are in a hotel. Yeah. 20, 30 of them on a small veranda like this, sleeping there. That is where they live.
I saw that phenomenon and Mvongbi, and I was telling Evangelist Bright, I look there, that look at somebody without a fixed residence.
Some of them are limited.
Just wrapped his head,
yes,
and kept himself close to the wall. He was sleeping him peacefully, and that was it.
By 6 a.m., he will get up and go hustling. Some of them are hawking. Some of them are business oriented. Some of them are landed. But there is the town is so congested. And the worst thing is that the inhabitants of this place, many of them have taken advantage of the mystery of the Anglophones. I talk like a victim. I'm running through a police case where I paid money to get into a residence. The landlord collected the money. He refused to arrange the house. He refused to reimburse my money. He later on brought in some other person. 5 months now, I'm at the police. The police will get down there. They start discussing in their native language. We cannot get him. Go and look for the policeman to go and catch him at 4 a.m. and stuff like that. For 4 months now, I paid 380,000 francs. What are we saying, Mr. Njakai? The natives, the inhabitants of this place has taken advantage of the mystery of the Anglophone communities. If I'm able to express myself, come on media and like reason, what more of somebody who is down there? Just imagine the type of treatment that they are being given. If I'm being treated like this, what more of those who are down there? So I think the people, the right quarters, they should think about this. Even the houses that have been constructed by government, do you know the type of people who are living in? I've seen a retired minister, after working with the government for years, he has owned a government building here in Yaoundé. Not one, not two, but the right people to fish them out. They are there, they have this information, they have decided to remain quiet. Where are we heading to?
Well, housing minister will take that with the Minister of Housing and Urban Development. Yes, because in the Bolova, there's houses that were built and abandoned in the bush, nobody there. Only 3 women just came and they took one and they said, okay, they clean and they go and fetch water very far to come and finish. Okay, let's wrap up. Indomitable Lions made us proud yesterday by beating Malawi. What revolution on that game?
Yeah, it was a.
We are wrapping up very fast.
Yeah, it was a great show, and that shows the prospects that the Cameroonian team, the Indomitable Lions, they have. First of all, against what is ahead of them, that is the African Nations Cup. Anyway, it was a situation of the World Cup qualifiers, but the match is showing that we have some prospects in going somehow far in the African Nations Cup. So it is giving us at least and raising some of our hopes.
Okay.
It was a test match, as the minister said, and the pitch is very good. But we are still waiting for the AFCON to really it was a complex. Now we are more concentrated on the field, so it was a good performance. Although Malawi is not a very big force to reckon with, the real test match for me is on Monday against Afrique to really judge the performance and the level of the Indomitable Lions. Coupled to that, at the introduction, also talk about the Fcfa saga. There's a problem of nationality now where the electoral committee have come up to say to be a candidate you must be a Cameroonian, and some candidates have double nationality, which is not permitted in the Cameroonian law.
That rumor has been knocked off.
Yeah.
Nobody has been removed.
Targeted.
Nobody has been removed. Fcfa is an association.
Yes.
Fcfa is an association. Why did they hire a foreign coach? And the president said that I don't want this disorder. Renew the contract of that coach. After we are the ones
paying the money, the government.
Yeah. So you see, they have brought all that. Some sanity in Fcfa since. Yes, that renewal of that contract. Do you know how many elders who are taking kickbacks to give that contract to somebody else? They now have a lot of money to pay back.
Exactly.
You see how that team played? Players who were never called. Sometimes the administrator will not call until money goes to Fcfa. They take and put in their pockets, then they give you a place.
That's it.
To play. You saw a team that was showing a lot of coordination. Exactly. So we say our team is on the right foot. For next week, we'll look at the match against Ivory Coast on Monday. Okay, the day of back to school. Yeah. So we're going to say more.
Just 1 second. Yes, just 1 second. I wanted to, from what Mr. Chefo said, that you should not use one case and generalize, because targeting and stigmatizing the community is not a good thing. I, for one, am born and bred in Yaoundé, and I totally contradict what is said by saying that when you are owing, you should not use this case to generalize. So if you just came, but us in Yaoundé, the people in Yaoundé are very hospitable and welcoming.
Yes, we don't.
It's not always good to use a particular case for general.
Yaoundé has shown so much hospitality and still continues to do so.
Because Yaoundé is meant
one of the reasons that we have the group.
Because Yaoundé
don't use a case to.
Because Yaoundé is meant to be a no man's
land. So don't generalize.
Don't generalize.
And we know the
you are also in a new setup.
So
in terms of urban growth,
yes.
You are in a quartier. You are in a quartier. You are in a quartier. You have just come. No, you should go and withdraw your case in court.
Yes.
You should go and withdraw your case from the police.
Yes.
One. When you did you sign a contract? And when you sign the contract, you have to go and declare it to the statistics.
Yes.
Statistics.
Yes. What's important now?
Yes, you must go and register.
Yes.
You must go and register.
Commerce should be aware that
the Kamer should know that you are paying 50,000. The city council should know that you are paying 10,000.
Mr. Njakai, we are talking about the process of getting.
No, I am telling you, no matter what process or what, you must sign the contract and have it registered to talk legally.
Yes.
It's not so much.
Is that a condition for
that is the law. That is the law.
So, assuming I was not informed.
No, Don't generalize. It's not a solution. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to end this up. And now that Mr. Chair will find a duty-conscious landlord, not an absentee landlord, and give him a nice contract and say, my son, just stay here and allow him to grow with my own children and grandchildren, so I will become a family. That is how we have been welcome in Yaoundé. Yes, and we want it to continue. Yes. Okay, thank you very much, and I want to say thanks to our studio producer. what is his name again? I saw a different name last week on the screen here, and I think we should give him credit because he waited for us. We went through the traffic jams and came and met him, and we're hoping that we've seen that he's done a good job. What is that his name again? I saw it somewhere last week. All the other members of the crew, the news is coming right up here with Leopoldine. She's our Black Afro Queen. She'll be coming to the studio and also say hi and thanks to our general manager, Ernest Obama. He had a successful finals last weekend of Super Coupe Samuel Eto'o in Essay. And why? So we also want to say congratulations to him and also to say thank you to our board chair, Mr. Luke Owena. So with that, we'll say next week is another day. Hopefully we'll be together with you. Thanks for watching.
La rentrée scolaire 2021-2022 est là. Promoteur d'établissements scolaires et libraires, faites connaître vos offres et services sur les antennes de B-News One.
Bonjour.